Welcome to this how-to guide. I'm Andrew from Shield Build, and in this video I'm going to talk to you step by step on how to use our free online quoting tool for all your fire door upgrade needs. In this video, not only are you going to be able to identify all your problems, you'll also be able to get an instant quote online without any of the hassle of having to ring around different builders or different carpenters or fire door fitters to get a quote and to arrange appointments. I'm going to be using a real life example of a fire door inspection and talk you through how to read that correctly and identify all the problems that you have. So here in the background we've got a fire door inspection that's already been done. Now every year your block management, whoever's in charge of the block of flats, should be having a fire door inspection. As part of that inspection there should be an overall fire inspection, but also they should identify at least three different doors in the block to identify all the problems and whether they are compliant. So in this one here, they've actually had all their flat doors done. And you can see here flat 10. So flat 10, you've got the address there. The nominal part there is just because it's not a complete fire door set. So it's an existing door that can be upgraded. So with a fire door set as such, the actual set would be already certificated before it's arrived, whereas this door hasn't been. So one of the things, obviously, the first thing you've got to do is check that the door's 44mm thick or thicker. That assumes it is a fire door. So it's passed, it's certificated, that's by assuming that it is, because it's 44mm thick. Door conditions passed, frame conditions passed, it's even got fire door hinges. But the problem here is the gaps. So with the gaps, they need to be 4mm on the sides, 4mm on the head, and underneath, if it's got a smoke seal. So a smoke seal is an intermittent seal that's normally fitted either in the frame from new or retrofitted in the door. It's got a brush if it's a smoke seal. If it's just a fire, it's smooth. So if it's got a smoke seal in, which all flat front doors will need, you can only have a maximum of 4mm gap underneath. If it only needs a fire smoke seal, a lot of times these will be like cupboards, they can be up to 10mm. So with here, as you can see, the side rail is 4mm. The latch side, so the latch side is the lock side, the hinge side is obviously where the hinge is. So you've got 4mm and 6mm. So obviously the max you can have is 4mm and 4mm. So that's 8mm. Obviously you've got 10mm there. So it's too big on the sides, and the top rail is too big, 4mm. You've also got a gap between the fire door and door frame. It's greater than 4mm, and also you need to obviously make sure that the gaps are 4mm. It's also failed on the door threshold gap. So that's the gap underneath the door. One thing to take into account as well is that if the top rail is 6mm, obviously we can raise the door up to 4mm, but that's going to add another 2mm down the bottom. So you just need to be careful with that. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is, obviously based on this report, I'm going to go through you step by step on our quoting tool, so you can fill out the survey and get an instant quote based using that as an example. So there you've just got your general details that you need to fill in, just your name, number, address. Obviously I'd put your flat address rather than your actual house address if you're a landlord, and then there's the next button in the corner. And then the next slide, when it loads up, well that'll be regarding making sure that your fire door is a fire door. Obviously, like I said, it needs to be 44mm or thicker. If it's not, then you'll go to a separate the end slide, which will just ask you to drop us an email. So drop us an email with some more dimensions and some more information, and we'll be able to give you a price of doing a new door. So yeah, here obviously you want to collect, if you've got, that is a fire door, if it's 44mm thick, you need that to be able to be upgraded. Once you've selected that, click next. You can go back at any time as well. The next thing with the hinges, obviously you need 3 hinges per fire door, and each hinge needs to be certificated, so you'll see a marking on there. If it's got no marking on there, it's not. So for example, the hinges on that survey said that it was fine, so I'll just click yes, I have 3 certified hinges, because again the hinges had passed on that survey, on that inspection, so that's all good. And then click next again. And the next is the smoke seals. So like I said, the smoke seals, if you're fitting new frames and doors, normally the smoke seals be pre-routed into the frame. If they're not, then you need to route them into the doors, because you can't get your router actually in the frame once it's fitted. So we'd have to take the door off, to take it outside, set the benches up. We'd have to take all the ironmongery off. We'd have to get a router, and we'd have to route a groove all the way around to then slide these smoke seals in. And then the smoke seals, basically they're brushed, so they touch between the door and the frame, so they just close the gap up, basically. The whole point is that, obviously, being a smoke seal is to stop the smoke coming through. That's why the gaps are really important. Obviously, there's no point having a smoke seal and it's not touching the frame because the smoke's going to go straight through. So that's the reason why it's important. So we already had smoke seals, so just put no, already have compliant smoke seals as per that report. And then on to the next slide, obviously a door closer. Again, once you've got the brushes in, you've got to remember the brushes hitting the frame, so the door closer generally needs to be an overhead door closer. In a lot of old style doors, they have a thing called a Perco, and this is a chain door closer that's fitted on the side of the door. As soon as you get a brush smoke seal, they're just no good. They've just got one action, they just slam shut, and they don't shut as soon as the brush is hit. They're just not man enough. So you need an overhead door closer. Obviously, we've got the budget version there, but we also started doing a version which is called a BS8300. Now, this is a version that's used, it's an upgraded version that's used a lot in nursing homes. This is ideal for elderly or people with disability because basically it doesn't have as much tension. Obviously, with the standard door closer, it's got quite a lot of tension on the door. Obviously, if you're elderly or you struggle to open it, then I'd highly recommend that. But on this report, the door closer was fine, so we'll click no. We have a compliant overhead door closer. So depending on what you select, each thing that you select has got a different price. Now here, what size gaps do you have? This is probably the most complicated part of the survey. It's regarding the gaps. So obviously to comply with fire regulations, each side of the door need to not exceed 4 mil. So like I say, we're starting with the sides. So yeah, there is different ways of getting over this. So if your gap's too big, the two options are a product called frame fit. Now this is basically an intermittent seal that's actually got a sticky bat that's stuck up on the frame. The only issue with this, the two issues with this that I find is it's very expensive. For one roll, it's about, even for me to get, it's about 150 quid. And then on top of that roll, because that's a fire, and then you've got to stick the smoke on top, which is another sort of 60, 70 quid a roll. So you've got that just on materials. That's the first sort of slight issue. The second slight issue is obviously really it's a temporary measure because obviously wear and tear, it might last 10 years, it might last 15 years. The product's not been out that long. But obviously you're going to have wear and tear on that, so you might have to replace that at some point. The other option is taking the architrave off and actually packing the door. And to pack the door up the top as well, if it's rebated in the frame, the actual leg of the frame, then you would actually have to run a blade up the top to cause a gap to be able to pack it over, basically. Now, this is a permanent solution. Once it's done, it's done. The only slight downfall with that is you will need to have redecoration done. Nothing major, just touching up, because obviously we're taking the architrave off. There's also no guarantee that the architrave is going to come off in one bit. We do our best. We score a knife down either edge, so when it comes off, obviously it's not taking the wallpaper with it and stuff like that. But honestly, some of these architraves have had 7, 8, 9 coats of paint on you. As soon as you cut it over, like bits are chipping off. It needs decoration done on it. So again, obviously that's the options that we give you, the two options that we give you. So as you come down, you've also got what frame option 1, which is obviously the frame fit that I explained, that stick-on solution, or you've got the frame refit and architrave refit. So obviously we refit the architrave for you, assuming that it's come off fine, which 99 times out of 100 it has. So coming back here, obviously if your gap's 0 to 8 mil, even if it's sort of 2 mil one side, 5 mil the other side, obviously the 2 mil one, we can pack over 1 millimeters with intermittent packers, and that'll close up 5 mil to 4 mil. So basically with that, just 0 to 8 if it's compliant. You've got 9 to 11 mil if the gap is in total. That's the total of the two sides. You've got the frame fit option or the frame repack option, and the same with 11, 14. The other thing to take consideration, the frame fit option, because you've got the material cost, it's about £150 more than the repack the frame option, but you haven't got the redecoration to do. The other thing you need to take into consideration, obviously with the frame fit option, they do different sizes, 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, which is really good. But if your frame's running out, so say for example you need an extra 2 mil at the top but no mil at the bottom, that doesn't taper, that's just an even gap. So I'd always go for the frame repack option if that's the case. If it's an even gap, you just need to make 1 mil, go for the frame fit option if you don't want to do any decoration. So yeah, basically you obviously on that one there, we needed to make up a couple of mil. So I'm just going to select there, for that, I'm going to select the frame repack option. It's a more permanent option after a bit of decoration. Obviously I can do the decoration myself, but again, it depends. If you're elderly and you don't want to get a painter in and you just got an even gap, go for the frame fit option. But you've got the choices there either way. Both options obviously make your door compliant. With the head, how large is the head in the door? It wasn't compliant, it was larger than 4mm. So again, we just allow a small fee just to raise the door. Like I said, when you get to the bottom one underneath, if your bottom gap at the moment is say 6mm and you've got to raise the door up 2mm, obviously you've got to remember that it's going to be 8mm once you're done. So for example there, the options here are either compliant, which obviously no charge, or you've got these two options here. Both these options are the same. So you've got, so we'll click there, it's 5 to 13mm. So we're going to need a automatic door for the doors. Again, we have to take the door off, take it outside, rebait a groove, and then this slides in under the door. It has a pin at the end, and when the door shuts, the pin hits the frame and it activates the drop down seal. Now the reason that I've got 21mm or over there is the actual automatic threshold bars only go up to a maximum of 20mm. So again, if you've got a bigger gap than 21mm, you will need to have another option, possibly sticking a piece of hardwood on the bottom of the door, which isn't ideal, or get a new door, obviously. So if you do click the 21mm, you'll be redirected again to the last slide where you can just drop us an email and go through more detail. Now, once you've selected this option, obviously you've gone through all the sides now. Like I say, that's the most complex section. That's over. Now you've got your locks. So now your locks need to be compliant. The reason is for this is a lot of the locks, they obviously got a hole on the door, especially with things like a night latch. So basically these doors, if they're not fire rated, we get these intermittent pads that go in the hole, and then if there is fire that heats the door up, this expands and closes the gap up. Just gives you more protection. So again, I think on that report it said that the locks were fire compliant. So we'll click yes. Obviously, if it's not, if it pulls up that your lock does need upgrading, again, you don't have to get a new lock. They do, like I say, retro intermittent pads that can be fitted now. So what I'd recommend is obviously Googling night latch, seeing a picture, checking you've got a night latch, and then you can click it. But for this purpose, we're going to click my locks are compliant as per the report. Click next. See, with this obviously with this survey, but I've gone through every option that you can have. So hopefully, again, with this video, it's just going to clear up. And it's going to save you as well having a fire inspection, I think. Obviously, you'd have to pay if you haven't had one done in your individual door. Again, you can check all this as you go. Letterboxes, again, some doors have letterboxes. They need to have intermittent seals around them. Obviously, they have it's almost like a rubber seal that goes all around the letterbox. Again, when that heats up, it closes up the gap. So again, this door didn't have a letterbox. So we'll click no, don't need a letterbox. Again, if you click yes, but it's not fire rated, we'll allow to get it upgraded. We can supply and fit them. Now, does your door have glass? Again, if your door has glass and it's stamped, it's a bit of a grey area really, because you can get glass. Obviously, you've got a fire door. To be honest, chances are the glass is going to be fire rated because they wouldn't supply a fire door basically without fire door glass. But they do. Some inspectors do insist that it's got some sort of marking on it. Some will accept the fact that it's got Georgian wire in it because that used to be a sign that it was fire rated. So if you're not sure, again, I'd go back to the inspector and just ask him. But obviously, if you've got no glass, it had no glass, this door, so we click no. And then again, next button at the bottom, and we can then go on to the next slide. And then a D handle, this is the last option. So I was finding a lot of time when we was fitting these door closures, obviously they can add tension onto the door. If people haven't got handles already, and no door closer, obviously they just use their lock or something like that. So we was finding a lot of people just wanted a D handle, just something to grab hold of. Just gives you a bit more strength to open the door once the door closer goes on. So for this instance, we'll just click no. But if you click yes, like I say, it's just a small £25 extra. That's the supplied and fitted as well while we're there. Click next, and then you'll basically should come on to the last slide. The last slide is just obviously you've got to remember to go to the bottom and hit submit. The options that I said that you'll end up going to the last slide to email us is explained here. So then you just drop us an email there, our email address there if you've got any questions. But obviously photos, measurements, anything you need, you just need to drop us an email here. But if you've gone through it all, you literally just hit submit like that, and then you'll reach the thank you page at the end. And it's just thank you for filling out your fire door. You'll automatically, with 1 minute, you'll get a quote straight away in your inbox. And then if you're happy, we get you to fill out a form that basically you'll be able to book an in form, and then we can arrange for you to put the work in as well. Obviously, I hope this has helped. I've spent a lot of time getting this form fitted and get everything automated, because I just finding, I'm a carpenter, I've been doing carpentry 23 years now. I've done fire door qualifications as well, and I was just finding that pretty much every block of flats over a certain age just isn't up to fire compliant. After Grenfell as well, like, a lot of lives were lost because people couldn't get out because they couldn't see because of smoke, just because again the fire doors weren't up to regs, amongst other things in the building. So it is really important, and not just for you, but just for everyone that lives in your block of flats. If you have a fire in your flat and you run out, like you would do, you'll see if your door doesn't shut, it's not just your flat, it's everyone else's flat that it affects. So they are getting a lot hotter on this with the government ever since Grenfell. So it is going to get to a point where it could affect your home insurance if you've been asked, like your block management should be writing to you telling you that you need to do your door, upgrade your door. I mean, even if you don't get it done by myself, just go and get someone that's competent to do it. Like I say, someone that's been doing carpentry for 23 years, or someone that's got fire door qualifications. And I hope that this is a step in the right direction, because a worrying stat is 95% of fire doors aren't compliant. Again, people just go with a DIY or someone without the qualifications, get the door fitted, and it's not up to compliance. It hasn't got, you can see just by this form just what's involved. Obviously, fitting a door, people think it's an easy job, but to get it compliant, get the gaps fit in, getting everything in regulations isn't as straightforward as you think. So yeah, just make sure that you're conscious of that, and hopefully this has helped, and hopefully this is going to be a step in the right direction to get everyone's fire doors up to regulations. And thanks for listening, and good luck.